Mr. Zach Morgan, baby. How you doing, sir?
What's up? I'm doing great.
Thanks
Got
for
a cocktail
coming.
here. I'm ready to go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See what you think of it.
Oh, it's terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chug it to get rid of it. No, I'm kidding. That's great.
So
like refreshing, tart,
yeah,
really good.
refreshing chart. There's orgeat in there. It's basically an almond syrup, and then the holiday spice bitters. And yeah, I know you said you had a background in cooking, right?
Yes, I was a chef before I got into the fitness world.
How does one go from a chef and putting food on a plate and cooking it to teaching people how to lift heavy things?
Well, one of the benefits of becoming a chef is you tend to get really out of shape because you're eating a lot and not really working out. So, I mean, I loved what I did.
Yeah.
Love cooking, love food, but definitely found myself out of shape as someone who grew up an athlete and had always been really active. And a friend of mine who's a bodybuilder convinced me to just start working out with him and just kind of fell in love with it and fell in love with fitness and started out, as most trainers do, being like, oh, I think I'm going to get certified just to learn more and maybe I'll do it on the side, but I'm not going to make a career out of it. And
did you love food at the time? Did you love cooking food? When you were growing up as a kid, were you like, Mom, I'm gonna cook food for people at a restaurant?
No, I was a super picky eater. Definitely loved food. My grandma cooked for me a lot.
What wouldn't you eat?
I mean, name it. When I was really young, pretty much all I would eat was grilled cheese and chicken tenders and pizza, and that's about it.
Swear.
I was the pickiest eater. So if any parents out there have picky eaters as kids, there's hope for them.
Do you think that's a genetic thing, or is it because parents don't oh, here's a carrot, force feeding their kid, or because there's some kids who eat everything, and there's some kids who are they will shut their mouth as a 2-year-old and they just won't open it for a piece of celery.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just wouldn't try things. And my mom was a single mom, so she was like, I don't have time to force feed you. If this is what you're gonna eat, we're just gonna stop it wherever and get you a grilled cheese. And my grandma would cook a lot, so I'd eat her cooking, but those were pretty much the few things I'd eat.
Yeah, and I guess where did the chef inspiration come from?
So after high school, I traveled a lot. So I went and lived in Israel for a year.
Oh, how was that?
It's amazing. Fantastic experience, to just experience a different culture and different worlds. Was there
a reasoning for going there?
I didn't want to go straight to college. And so there was a program where you get some college credit, take a few classes, but you're also volunteering a lot.
Okay.
And so I also have family there. And so it was a good chance to get to know them a little bit. So it was a good chance to get some real world experience and kind of be out on my own without jumping straight into college.
And this is straight from Kansas City?
Straight from Kansas City.
Oh, they probably got a good shock.
A little bit of a culture shock. I've been to visit, but on an organized trip, but then just going and kind of getting thrown into it. And I went with some friends. They were on the same program, so at least I knew people. But you can't really be a picky eater when you go to another country. And that's kind of where I fell in love with just different foods and having to just cook for myself. And starting to experiment some more and got out of my comfort zone.
Sure.
And then I was back in Kansas for a year and then went to school in England for 3 years.
So did you start to cook in Israel?
I started to cook. I wouldn't say it was anything very good.
Okay.
But I started broadening my palate a little bit.
Why did you start cooking?
I had no other choice.
You couldn't just get food
I mean,
there?
we could. We'd go out to eat, but we were a bunch of broke 18-year-olds. So, we'd go out to eat, but we'd also try cooking and throwing things together. It wasn't...
What type of foods over there are pretty accessible that was your go-to meal? I
mean, there is everything there. There's pizza, there's burgers, you can get all that stuff, but falafel... there was my first apartment there because they would move you around a few times, so you could
So this was through a school?
It was through a youth group.
Okay.
So it was a structured program, semi-structured. You still lived on your own, but they kind of helped set stuff up for you, and you had some counselors who kind of helped guide you. But I mean, we were living on our own, so lots of falafel. lots of just like really good Mediterranean food,
Sweet.
like bowls and salads. And
So no more pizza and tenders every single day.
not every single day. You could still find them. But
And you treated yourself when you got a little bit of like
different.
$10 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where I fell in love with it.
And then you went to UK, you said?
Then I went to school in England for international business and finance. And thought that was what I wanted to do. I love the subject, but I can't sit at a desk all day.
Yeah, how does a Kansas City boy go to college in the UK?
Followed a woman there.
Oh, okay.
That's how you end up somewhere. We'd met in Israel, and she was from England.
It's always about a girl, huh?
Yeah, it's always about a girl. So I went to visit, and I was like, this is cool. I like it. And I'd been back in Kansas for a year. And then going back there, I just wasn't ready to like settle in yet. After a year in Israel, I wasn't done being adventurous. And so I went to school in England for 3 years.
How did you meet this girl?
She was on the same program. So it wasn't just Americans. It was Americans, Brits.
Yeah.
Mostly Americans and Brits. But yeah.
From that experience, what did you learn about, I guess, like people? Because like some people who stay in the same hometown, so like you might notice it. Like for me, I'll go back home and I'll see like people who I've went to school with, had a restaurant job with, or whatever, like growing up, and they'll still be there, right, until this day. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But like they also just didn't experience like outside of the country, let alone outside their town. I guess what did that experience do for you in like that aspect?
I mean, it definitely helped me learn to get out of my comfort zone. And that there's so many beautiful things to experience and to see. But as far as what I learned about people, like we're all so similar. Like, you know, obviously on the surface, there's all the differences in terms of what we eat. So we're talking about that and how we speak and weird accents and all that. Fun thing about being an American abroad is you're the one with the weird accent. So,
or people are like, dang, Zach, you sound so cool. Or no.
Some people think it's cool. Some people are just like, why are you talking like that? Like, they're not used to the different American accents. They think America is New York.
You got the Texas twang.
New York, LA, and then everything between is Texas. So they're like, usually they would say, where are you from? And I'd be like, Kansas. And they'd be like, oh, is that in Texas? Nope. There's 50 states. It's a different one.
Yeah, isn't it funny that like there's like Southern accents, that there's like the New York Boston accent, there's the Cali boy accent.
Yeah, and they expect you to either have those or Texas.
That's it.
Yeah. If you have a just regular, boring Midwestern accent like mine, then they're like, why are you talking like that?
Yeah.
I've been accused of faking an American accent, which I thought was funny.
How do you, I mean, I guess you can fake one, but
I guess you
why
can.
Why would you do that?
I'm terrible at accents. Like, I tried doing a British accent, and they were like, oh, no, you're definitely faking that one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can't do any. But, you know, underneath all that, like, people are so similar. We all just want the same things. And, you know, finding those common bonds taught me a lot.
That's cool, man. So when you were studying, like, finance and business and all this stuff in the UK, did you know at that time that you were like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to still go to school and do it?
The last year, I knew, like, I don't know if this is for me, but, like, I got to finish.
Sure.
So, you know, kind of pushed through. But when it came time to start looking for jobs in that industry, that's when I was just like,
I don't want
like looking at all the jobs out there and the descriptions, and I was like, none of these sound good. Like, I love learning the subject, but when it came time to like actually work in that field. Just nothing really spoke to me.
It didn't really spark.
Yeah, nothing sparked my interest. And so I kind of just went home and worked some random little jobs while I tried to figure it out, and did an internship. And it was my mom that was like, you know, you love cooking. You keep saying you can't sit at a desk all day. Like, why don't you go to culinary school?
Yeah.
There's a program in Kansas City where it's an apprenticeship program. So you are in school 1 or 2 days a week, and then you're working full time in a restaurant. So it was good because I was past the college age where I was like, I don't want to go back to another couple years of school. You know, don't want to take out more student loans. So it was a good way to like learn, was very hands-on, getting real world experience. And so
So you were doing an apprenticeship for 2 to 3 days a week, and you were working full time in a restaurant.
So you were in school like 2 days a week, and then the restaurant was your apprenticeship. So they had restaurants that they were already affiliated with, or you could kind of talk to them. And so like,
and these are legit restaurants.
Legit restaurants. The chef at the restaurant would fill out like a quarterly report for my school on how I did, and they would kind of check in.
And this was in Kansas.
But I was still getting paid. I was working there just like anyone else. Yeah, this was in Kansas City.
Okay.
So
what would a day in the life be of like a Zach doing? I guess like, what did you learn in like a day to day in, I guess, this apprenticeship, like during school and working in the restaurant?
School was just a lot of like cooking fundamentals. You know, first year was very basic stuff, learning the mother sauces and, you know, all of the knife sauces? Skills. Okay. Yeah. All the sauces come from the 5 mother sauces.
Ooh, can you tell us what they are?
No, okay. I shouldn't have even brought this up. There's like bechamel, there's espagnole, which is tomato based. Okay. There's hollandaise. So there's like the 5 mother sauces, and then you kind of like, most sauces are based on those.
That. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's funny. That sounds like classic cocktails.
Yeah.
Like, cause like every cocktail is basically from like around 6 types of cocktails. Yeah.
And it's just putting your own twist on it. So, and learning knife skills and all that. And then also like, you know, some of the business side of running a restaurant. We had a few of those classes. And then we also had a lot of like really fun classes. We had one semester that was Italian. Every week we picked a different region and we would just cook stuff from that region, and got to be a little bit more creative in that class.
Sure.
And then, so that was like 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah. And
then working in a restaurant, getting that hands-on real world experience. So
knife skills are sexy, bro. Like when I see someone can cut like perfectly diced onions, bro, or like bell peppers, I mean, I'm just like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Usually I get recruited to help out if I'm ever at someone's house and they're cooking, and I'm not good at staying out of the kitchen. So
okay, so you absorb it, you take it in, you're like, okay, I can help here.
Yeah, it's nice to show off a little bit, show that I still got it.
So I used to be a sushi chef for 1 year.
Okay.
In my hometown. And
that is some knife skills.
Yeah, but my first day on the job, I like slit my hand open and like blood was going all over the fit. Yeah, it was.
And you used super glue and you got right back to work.
Yeah,
because that's what it was like.
Yeah,
like you cut yourself, you put some super glue on it, you wrap it in a bandage, and you're back at work.
They don't care.
Yeah, orders are coming in. You got to get it out. So you can go deal with it after your shift.
Did you like working in a restaurant?
I loved it.
These line cooks are hard, bro.
It is. I mean, so the first place I worked was a hotel.
Okay.
In the restaurant there. So I would help out with catering. The restaurant, because it was a hotel restaurant, most nights wasn't like crazy busy.
Okay.
It was pretty simple menu. So it was a good place to start.
Okay.
Because I got experience with a lot of types of food, but we weren't like getting our ass kicked every night.
So you're definitely not a picky eater at this point.
Definitely not.
Okay.
No. And it was like a little bit more chill. And I mean, we had nights where it would get crazy busy.
Sure.
But that wasn't the norm. And then I went and worked at a steakhouse where it was the busiest restaurant in Kansas City. And it was like, I mean, even weeknights were busy. Crazy. Weekends were just like nonstop. And so that's where it was like, also getting a little unhealthy because you have no energy to like go to the gym or do anything. You're eating whatever you can.
Sure. What do you call it? Can you tell people real quick? Because there is, I always get steak sent back.
Yeah.
Right. And like there's like well done, medium well.
Yeah.
Medium, and then medium rare and rare.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what is the distinction, I guess, between like just rare, medium, and well for people who don't know how to order steaks properly?
I mean, rare is going to have a good rare is going to have a good sear on the outside.
Okay. But
then be like basically red on the inside.
Is it cold?
No, it should not be cold.
Okay.
But it shouldn't, like, it's enough that it's warm but not like really cooked.
Okay.
So it's going to hold all those juices. Medium will be pink on the inside.
Okay.
So it's cooked, it's hot, but not like cooking all the juices out. And then well, there's just like no pink.
Okay.
It's just fully cooked through.
Some people say it's like sacrilegious to order a well done steak. Do you believe that?
As someone who grew up eating well done steak, because that's what I was taught, yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
So no shade to my family who raised me that way, but I'm glad I've evolved and come around.
Why do you think it's like that? Or I guess you went to culinary school, so why is it sacrilegious to order a well done steak?
A good quality steak doesn't need to be well done. You're just losing, like, the juices hold all those flavors. And so you're just losing so much of the flavor that, like, it's almost just not worth it. Like, if you want well done, just order a burger.
There you go.
Like,
Heard it from a chef,
beef.
Guys. Please do not order well done.
I mean, I also like a medium burger, but a well done burger doesn't feel sacrilegious. A well done, like, quality steak does.
Yeah, because I feel like a smash burger is basically well done. You can't really cook that.
I love a smash burger. Yeah, I mean, that's a certain style, but you're also like, it's cooking in the juices, so you're not like losing them.
Not losing it totally.
Yeah, you're not totally losing it.
That's why it's still like juicy.
It's still juicy, yeah.
I'm getting hungry now, bro.
And usually you pick like the right blend of meat for a good smash burger, but
heck yeah. So you're working at this steakhouse, and I guess like it's super busy, and like you're not eating healthy.
Definitely not.
And the hours
and everyone just wants to go out and drink after.
Yes. If anyone doesn't know, like basically after you're off at like 1, 2, whatever, you just like, which place are we going to? Which last call bar are we going to? And we're just,
I mean, usually it was the bar across the street from the restaurant because we'd hook them up with food and then they'd hook us up with drinks.
That's what's up.
And so, yeah, it was.
And this is like 3 or 4 years out of England or the UK?
This is about 2 years out.
Oh, this is 2 years. Okay.
2.5. I worked at the hotel for like 1.5 years.
Okay.
And then switched to the steakhouse, which a lot of people, I was still in that culinary program. A lot of people would switch what restaurants they worked at to get experience with different things.
Gotcha.
And so as long as it was approved by the school, you could switch around.
How long is this like program?
3-year program.
Okay. So after year 1, are you enjoying cooking?
I'm loving cooking.
Are you enjoying the restaurant industry?
I'm not loving the restaurant industry. Okay. That's the difference.
So then why did you even go to like the steakhouse place, even if you didn't like it?
I needed something new. Okay. I knew it would be a challenge. I think part of it with the hotel was like, it was kind of corporate. I mean, so was the steakhouse a little bit, but like the menu wasn't changing. It was a lot of the same people. And being in school, I was like, I'm not being challenged right now. Like I can cook all of these dishes on the menu like without having to even measure anything. Like I know this menu back to front. I just wasn't being challenged. Okay. And so that's why like the instructors at the school kind of gave me their blessing, and some were even like glad that I switched because they're like, yeah, you need something different. Like, you know, being in a place where the menu just doesn't change.
It's monotonous. It's like,
yeah, it just gets
boring.
monotonous.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, even if you love cooking, the restaurant industry, like you're cooking the same thing over and over and over again every night for other people.
Sure.
And so, yeah, it just got monotonous. And so the steakhouse was a good change. It was a really good experience. I'm glad I did it. But at this point, I was maybe getting a little burnt out, not on cooking, but on the industry.
What do you call it? So did you have any past like workout experience before like getting into like?
I had done some powerlifting, but I had always been like the younger, weaker guy working out with the older guys.
Sure, for powerlifting.
Were
you like that?
I definitely wasn't knowledgeable about like everything behind it and what I was doing.
And this
I was just
like
kind
high
of
school?
doing what I was told. This was after high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you learned powerlifting in college?
Like in the summer after Israel is when I started like coming back home. And then worked out when I went to school in England. I actually played on the American football team. Yes,
so
not
they played
soccer.
They played American football.
It was basically
in
like a club team. It wasn't like our college football. It was a lot of fun, but like met someone who played on the team when I first got there, and he heard my accent and he was like, "Hey, you look like kind of athletic and you have an American accent, so you must know football. So come try out." And so I played on that team. So I was like, you know, I had practice a couple times a week and we would go to the gym together. So I was, you know, pretty active there.
Shouts out the Chiefs.
Yes. Shout out to the Chiefs, Super Bowl champs again.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So did you grow up on football? Like, did you know football pretty well when you were going into that?
I was more of a soccer player, which is funny because
really?
I was a decent soccer player for an American, but then in England I was a terrible soccer player because they're all so much better than us.
You know what? So
and in here I probably would have been a terrible football player in high school, but there just knowing how to play was like gave you an edge.
It's a win.
Yeah, it was a win.
It's like I'm automatically better than you guys.
We had a bunch of big guys who had played rugby, so they could hit, but they didn't know how to read an offense. They didn't know the game at all.
Sure. Dude, there's this big thing coming up right now. It's called it's like beach soccer.
Okay.
And it's so hard. I had a professional beach soccer player come on the podcast, and like you don't really think about it, but like running in the sand's hard.
Running in the sand is very hard.
Extremely hard, right?
Yeah.
And so imagine like juggling, and like they catch the ball usually on the fly because the ball like just sinks into the sand.
Yeah, you don't even want to let it get on the sand.
You don't even want it to touch it on the sand. And so like he was describing this, and I was just like, this is wild. And like it's coming big in the United States, and like soccer's becoming big because of that. Like in Venice, like they have all these crazy things.
I mean, I remember like kicking a ball around on the beach in Israel and done that before. And yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine having to like actually play a game.
Yeah. Did you have the type of powerlifting physiques that, you know, they're not very mobile, and they're just like, they don't look very shredded, but they're extremely strong, and they could like lift
that was definitely me. I wasn't super shredded. I wasn't super huge. Like now I compete in Olympic lifting, and I'm probably 20 to 30 pounds heavier than I was then.
Okay.
I mean, it's also been like 10
You had some time to develop.
years since then. Like I've developed a little bit more. I've had it's been a slow growth.
Sure.
It's not like, but I was like fairly strong for my weight class.
Okay.
And
what was your weight class for powerlifting?
185.
Okay.
And I wasn't super shredded, but like I was pretty strong.
Yeah.
Like I think people in the gym were surprised when they saw me lift.
Oh.
I think people would see me load up a squat rack and be a little concerned until they actually saw me squat it. They'd be like, I was definitely an ego lifter. So
it's valid though. Like when I see like someone load up 4 plates on a squat, I'm just like, is this dude going down 2 inches? Or like, you know?
there's a certain amount of weight if I'm ever in like a just open gym where if someone loads it up, I kind of will look over. Which, quick story of maybe the funniest, most ridiculous thing I've seen in a gym. The gym that I worked at in Kansas City, it was downtown. It was a really big gym, like super popular. So we were tons of members, some really strong, fit people.
What was the name of it?
It was named One Life.
One Life, yeah.
It's since changed brands, but it's still in the same place. It's Genesis now, but I'm like training a client over by the squat racks, and these 2 guys, like kind of bigger guys, like I'd seen them in the gym plenty of times before, and they would always kind of like come in and do like a couple sets of something and then not too much. And I see them load 3 plates on each side of the squat on the bar on the squat rack. And I kind of am looking over, I'm like, oh, let me just like see how their form is. Like that's a good amount of weight.
Yeah.
One of them like gets under the bar, unracks it, takes a couple steps back. His friend takes a picture and then he racks it. He didn't even try to squat it. He literally just got a picture with that weight on his back to post.
Are you serious?
And put it right back. Didn't even try to squat it. I'm 100%. Me and my client are both cracking up, trying to not make it obvious that we're laughing at them like we saw, because it wasn't super busy. So I don't think they thought anyone would notice.
You're lying.
But literally just took a picture of him with a bunch of weight on his back. Didn't even try to squat it.
What?
Yeah, 100%.
And
it wasn't like it was clear it wasn't like a unrack. Oh, this feels heavy. I'm not gonna try. Like literally, his friend got a couple quick pictures from behind of him with that weight on his back, and he racks it.
That's a different definition of ego lifting.
That is just ego. There's not even any lifting. Didn't even lift.
That's crazy, dude. So back when you were a chef, were you lifting at all? Like at this time?
Not then. So after the steakhouse, I went to this little like marketplace cafe. It was me and a few friends that kind of ran the kitchen. It was owned by one of our culinary school professors.
Okay.
So we got to really be creative. Like our menu was written on a blackboard so we could change it. Okay. We worked with a lot of local farmers, lots of local produce. And also it was like daytime hours. We were open mostly lunch, early dinner.
Sure.
So it was like the perfect setting.
Yeah.
And So that is when I kind of started getting back into fitness, because it was close to a gym. So I joined there. And because I actually had like sustainable hours and wasn't just like exhausted and hungover every day, I got to like actually have time and energy to work out. So that's when I started working out again.
And mostly just powerlifting?
No, I was working out with a bodybuilder, a friend of mine. And so doing a lot of like that kind of stuff. A lot of isolation.
Hypertrophy movements.
Yeah.
Bicep
trying
curls.
to like lots of bicep curls, lots of machines, which was fun, but not what I'm as passionate about. So
is this when you started like transitioning your love for like cooking and food and stuff to like more towards fitness?
Yeah, I started to really, it was the first time I had ever really like delved into the actual methodology and thought process behind fitness. I'd always been like following the program that other people were doing, just kind of following along, and had never really thought much about like what I was actually doing. And started to kind of fall in love with that and get really interested in it. And at the same time was kind of falling out of love with the restaurant industry, not cooking, but with doing it for a living.
Yeah, this program for your professor, though, you said you started to do more like creative things.
Yeah, we got to be really creative, and it was a great place. And I think I would have stayed there a lot longer. There was some stuff on the business side where he kind of got pushed out by the other owner.
Gotcha.
And so we all left.
Oh, everyone left.
Like, not everyone, but like me and a couple friends all were like, okay, we're not, like, we came here to work for him. We liked the atmosphere. It's changing. Like, we're all kind of over it. And so that was a really good place to be. When that kind of fell apart and I was faced with like, and at this point I had started training like a couple friends on the side and was working out more and was training to do a physique show, which I did once and will never do again.
And you're an actual trainer at this point. You got your cert?
No, I don't have my cert. I'm like studying for it. I've decided to get it, but haven't like.
And you're just training some friends.
Yeah.
Like, help me get fit.
Basically just like working out with, like bringing them to work out with me, not even like training. And I kind of had the prospect of like, okay, if I want to stay in the restaurant industry, I have to go back to like a restaurant where it's going to be back to like the late night grind, like high stress. And I was just like, I don't want this lifestyle. I think that's the thing. People get burnt out on the industry. I remember talking to a friend about it and kind of like looking around, and I was like, every chef I know is divorced, because unless you find someone in the industry, like you're working crazy hours and late nights and it's high stress, every chef I know has like a bunch of health issues.
Really?
Because, I mean, not every chef, but like a lot.
Decent amount, yeah.
Like it's...
And you have access to like these foods that you could cook and like make, right?
Not just that. I think it's the stress more than anything. It's just really high stress. And I was just like, I don't really want that for myself. And so the gym that I was going to, I kind of had gotten to know the trainers and some of the managers, happened to need a new assistant fitness director. And since I kind of had a background in like some business and was also trying to be a trainer, and that was a job where like you were training but also doing some like management stuff, and so it kind of worked out well, where I kind of put my name out there and just worked out.
Nice. And so you just like quit the restaurant?
Yeah, just completely done with it. Just left. And
no regrets at the time?
Definitely not. No regrets.
What do you think, what did you learn most about like working in the restaurant industry that I guess like helped you like later in life or even to right now?
Well, I mean, we can talk about, I kind of got back into cooking professionally, but very different after a while. But one of the things it taught me, I still love to cook. The nice thing now is I get to cook what I want, when I want, for who I want.
What do you love about cooking now?
I just love like, one, it's my creative outlet. Like I'm not good at art. I can't make music.
I believe cooking is art though.
It is.
Like it's art that you
traditional art. I'm not good at. I can't paint. I can't draw. I can't make music. No one wants to hear me sing. I can't play an instrument. Like it was my creative outlet.
Sure.
Like everyone says, like baking is a science, cooking is an art. Like I don't follow recipes. I don't measure anything.
Oh, really?
I've like written recipes for some different sites and it's hard. I have to make it, eyeball what I'm doing, then I make it again.
And then trying to
like being like, okay, I think I added about half a cup of that. So I'm going to make it again. I'm going to do half a cup and see if that was about right. And so I kind of have to like reverse engineer my recipes.
Yeah.
And so it's my creative outlet, but also I just love like making people happy. So, you know, it's my love language.
Sure. I mean,
sure.
I feel like it's similar to like working out though, like the way that someone feels after a workout or after they accomplish something for fitness, like they're like, wow, thank you. You know? Like that feels awesome.
It does feel awesome.
Especially for like personal training. Like if they give you, it's like a win together and like you affect someone's life in a way that like could potentially be life changing. And like food wise, like this could be a meal that they'll remember for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, that's why I think one thing though, working in the restaurant industry taught me is that some things are better as a hobby. Like I think when you try to turn something you love into a career, it can like take away from your love of it.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes about so much other than you just doing it for the pure joy of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a restaurant, like it's not cooking because you want to, it's cooking because you have to.
Yeah.
You're not cooking what you want, you're cooking what the customer wants or what's on the menu.
Yeah. But the journey of like trying to become like a professional cook and becoming one, like probably gave you the skills as well as like the appreciation of like the art of cooking to like enjoy it more as a hobby.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if someone else was to talk about it, I would be like, maybe just because you can go to culinary school once a week. Like they have evening classes. Our culinary school, like some people would just sign up for one of the classes just to learn some new skills or learn some new recipes. Like go to a cooking class. But cooking and working as in the restaurant industry are two very different things. And so it taught me that like some things maybe just do as a hobby. Like have something that's for yourself and not for anyone else.
What is the benefit of having a hobby that is for yourself? Because there's a lot of people out there who don't really have many hobbies and they just like go through life going to work and coming home and doing like whatever, and that monotony of life. Like what is having a hobby that is like for you and only for you like important for?
I mean, I think we all just like need things to feel good about. You know, like you said, like the feeling of accomplishment. Like I think just getting to like let go and do something and have fun with it.
Sure.
I think we need that escape.
Yeah.
I also just think I'm someone who kind of likes to pick up hobbies. Like I'll try a lot of stuff out. I think it's also just good as people to have something to be a beginner at or to feel like you can get better at.
Sure.
Like, especially if you're 20 years into your career and you're kind of at the point where like, you know what you're doing and you do a good job and like you're super successful, like go be a beginner at something. It's a good mindset to have.
Yeah.
To kind of like put yourself in that position of sucking at something and have the pride and joy of like getting better and working at it.
Yeah. It's such an uncomfortable position sucking at something though.
It is. Like people ask me, they'll be like, how did you learn to make something like so good? And I'm like, I've made it really bad a bunch of times. Like it wasn't that I all of a sudden was good at this. It's just like I made it and it was pretty shitty. And then I made it again. It was a little less shitty. And then I made it again. It was all right. And then I made it again and it was good, but not great.
And then you do it 1,000 more times and it's great.
And then it's great.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. So if I serve you like my risotto and you're like, this is amazing. You're tasting the like 1,000th version of it getting better. Like you didn't have to taste the first 999. That
everyone's gonna hit up Zach and be like, "Make me a risotto, bro."
I love making risotto, so that's my go-to.
So it might happen.
That's my go-to dinner party food.
What do you call it? So like for working out, you deal with a lot of people, especially like you did some personal training as well, right?
I did personal training. I was group fitness director at a gym in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I taught classes and did personal training.
So I guess with all this, like teaching someone how to lift weights properly or like get fit, a lot of people suck at it at first because they've never done it. Right. And so they're in this like sucking phase of just like, I don't know if I really want to do this because it sucks. I don't like it, all these things. And how do you guide them to the point of like, it's okay, we're going to get better tomorrow and today, and you're eventually going to get it. But like at the point, they just don't believe it because they suck at it.
Yeah. I mean, I try to like, there's a lot of little things and you kind of have to read each person and find what works for them. Like celebrating the small wins, getting excited for that person when they do even just a little bit better, which is gonna like, that can happen in one session.
Sure.
Obviously like you're only going to get so much better in 1 hour long workout, but like you can improve form and start to feel better and move better. So like getting excited for them, like sharing that joy, also setting some really short-term attainable small goals, you know, instead of like, obviously we all have like long-term goals and things we want to get better at. But setting like some small ones, like, okay, this is what we're working on this week.
Sure.
This is what we want to get better at by next week.
Yeah.
And then also just being very like open and honest with people about the process. I think that there's a lot of, in the fitness industry, people trying to like make these big promises to get people excited. And I'm just very honest about like, listen, this is where I started.
Sure. And
this is how long it took me to get good at this. And I still have a lot of work to do. And so like,
so you tell them your story too.
I tell them my story. I mean, I've had 4 knee surgeries. I've had all sorts of injuries. I did not start out deadlifting 600 pounds. Like I was struggling at first. I've had a bunch of setbacks. Like I'm not someone who is just always in shape. And so telling them my story, like I love when someone comes into the gym and they're like, well, I can't really do that because like my knee is a little messed up. And I'm like, oh, what do you have done? They're like, well, it's just, I tweaked it. I'm like, oh, well, I've had 4 knee surgeries. So like your excuse isn't going to work on me. Like we will find modifications if you have an issue, and finding something, that's another one, modifying the workout, making sure everyone feels like they got a good workout.
Sure.
And did something that they could do that was on their level, but being just really honest with them about what the process is and what it's going to take.
Yeah, I love that because there's so many people that are trainers out there, or just people in general, who say this is how you do things, right? Versus like, this is how I did things.
Right.
And that makes it like way more, wow, like this is how I became fit. This is how you become fit. You know, because like there's a ton of trainers out there who go from like the how to. This is how you bench press 225. This is how you lose 40 pounds versus this is how I lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it actually works because you did it.
Right.
You know?
And, you know, also just letting them know, like, it's all trial and error. Like, it's what worked for me isn't going to work for you, but it's a good starting point.
Sure.
And we'll find what works for you. And, you know, we're going to just try stuff out. And you have to just kind of enjoy the process. And I always say, like, you know, if we were to kind of draw a graph of your progress and you were to zoom in on this month, you might see a lot of ups and downs. But if we zoomed out on 10 years, it's going to look just like steady gains.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to see those small little weekly dips when we zoom out. And so like, you know, focus on what you can do today, focus on what you can do tomorrow. Don't dwell on what you did. And let's just kind of like enjoy the process. And everything we try that doesn't work is a lesson. It's like, great, now we can eliminate that and try all the other things.
I think that's such an important, I guess, like point that so many people expect like results in like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 year. But like if you expand the time horizon of like a 5-10 year period, you're like, oh, like it's very possible. You know, like so many people are just like, I need that gratification like in a year. Right. And I was like, yo, like if you actually want it, like, and you love the process of it, you should be willing to do it for the rest of your life and then eventually getting there.
Exactly. You know, and you can just like enjoy those wins and like, you know, enjoy the process and take the wins when they come. And it's okay to like also change your goals. Like one thing is when you start working out, you're probably going to have certain goals and they're probably going to change. Like the amount of people who come in who are just like, well, I just want to, get a little bit stronger and I don't want to be too bulky. And then they get excited and, or maybe they come in with aesthetic goals. They're like, I want to look better and have a 6-pack and, have big biceps. And then they're like, they start squatting and benching and doing cleans. And they're like, well, I don't care about any of that anymore. I just want to lift more.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to get better. I want to be able to do more pull-ups. And
then by doing that, you get the initial, like,
exactly.
goal.
And that's why I like performance goals. They're much more quantifiable. Like, if your deadlift is 450 and you want to get to 500, when you get there.
Sure.
Versus I want to look better. Well, what does that mean? Because it's going to mean different things to me and you, and it's subjective, and that's going to go up and down a lot.
Yeah.
And so if we're like, okay, I can't do a pull-up.
Yeah.
I want by next year to be able to do 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 6 months when we test it, if you can do 3, we know we're on a good track.
Good track.
And like we can tell, and we know like whether it's working or not.
Sure.
Like all of a sudden you do 1, awesome, great, let's celebrate.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, now our goal is to do 2.
Heck yeah.
And so those performance goals they're much more exciting to celebrate because like when you hit it, you hit it.
Yeah.
And they're much more quantifiable. And like, yes, for everyone who's like, well, I just want to look better, you will. Like if you train like an athlete and you can perform like an athlete, you're going to look more athletic.
Sure.
Like all those athletes that you see that look amazing, they're not training for aesthetics. They just happen to look like that because they eat well and train hard.
Yeah, I guess being a devil's advocate for that, there's a lot of the mental health aspect of like quantifying workouts, food, everything like that. And I guess what would you say to those people who are like, I can't track my food because they have an unhealthy relationship with their body?
I don't.
Or tracking workouts because they don't feel like that is mentally healthy for them.
You don't have to. I mean, workouts, that's less common with workouts in terms of tracking. It's way more common for people to get caught up in tracking like their weight. So I'm like, stop tracking your weight. Let's track your performance.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to have you do a workout that's 5 rounds of this as fast as you can. And then we're going to redo it in 8 weeks. And if you can do it faster, we know you're fitter. So that's less common, but you don't have to track. That's the good thing about like going to, shameless plug here, but going to like a class gym like mine.
Shout out Helix Gym, Sherman Oaks, California.
You come in, the programming's up on a board, the coach is taking you through it. You don't have to worry. You don't have to, like, we have an app where people can track their weights and their scores, but you don't have to use it. We don't push anyone to use it. You can track and make it public. If you want to like compare to everyone, you can track and make it private. You can not track at all. And just focus on feeling better. With food, I don't track. I have before.
Yeah, that one bodybuilding competition.
Yeah. And I've tracked other times too. With food, I like to focus on addition over subtraction.
Addition over subtraction. What do you mean?
Like, especially if someone's trying to go from like having no structure in their diet to like eating healthier. If you come in and you come to me and you're like, okay, I want to eat healthier. And I'm like, okay, what kind of stuff do you eat? And you give me a list. You're like, I eat pizza, I eat a lot of pasta, and I like sandwiches. And I, in the morning I do that and whatever it is. If I tell you, okay, I want you to cut out this, this, and that. You're like, oh shit, I love those things. Like that's hard. That's kind of daunting. That puts you in like a negative mindset. You're thinking about all the things you can't have. If I'm like, okay, I want you to focus on getting more quality nutrients in. So I want you to add a little bit more lean protein into your diet. It can be chicken, it can be fish, it can be something plant-based. Let's add some more lean protein. And you really need to be adding some more grains and probably some more veggies into your diet. You're going to think, okay, I can do that.
Sure.
I can eat a little more chicken. And I'm probably going to tell you, hey, that pasta that you eat every day, that's just pasta and a sauce. Let's add some chicken and veggies to it. I'm not telling you can't eat the pasta. Let's just add some better nutrients in there.
Yeah.
That sounds very doable.
It does.
Like,
100%.
okay, I still get to eat what I like, but yeah, I probably should add some more protein into it. And I probably, you know, if I add some greens into it, they're just going to, I'm not even going to notice they're there.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you throw spinach into pasta, you rarely taste
what that's
that.
going to do is a couple things. One, it's going to make you feel better because you're getting more of those nutrients that your body's lacking. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel more full. You're going to feel more satiated. Like you're going to perform better in your workouts. You're also going to end up eating less pasta because if you fill the same size bowl, but now 20% of that bowl is filled with chicken, that's 20% less pasta that fills it. So without even thinking about it, you're now eating less of the pasta, which by the way, I eat a lot of pasta. I love carbs. I'm a weightlifter. So I'm not saying don't, but like everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And so focusing on addition first.
Yeah.
Let's start getting in the things you need. Let's start focusing on what's going to make you feel better and not starting to take away and be negative. And so
that's an interesting perspective.
It's a much more sustainable way. Yeah. It's a much more approachable way. It is much better for people's mental health. And then also just like with diet, I'm a fan of just make small changes, not just because it's more sustainable, but also like working out. Diet's all trial and error. There's no, everyone says like, well, what's the best plan? Whichever one you'll stick to. Like if I give you two plans and one is going to technically probably be better, but you're not going to stick to it because it's going to make your life miserable. And one is maybe like a little more flexible, but you like, okay, I can stick to that. That's the better plan for you. You're going to get better results with 100% adherence to that plan versus like 60% adherence to maybe a slightly scientifically better plan. You know, it's all about what's sustainable. And so by making small changes, not only is it more approachable and more sustainable, but we're going to find what works. You know, if you change too much at once, you don't know which of those changes worked.
Yeah. And the amount of times I also see like old past clients of mine, like it dramatically change their diet, like go on keto for like 1 month. They lose like 30 pounds in that month. And then they gain 40 when they get back. It's not uncommon. I
mean, people love Whole30 and I'm not knocking it. It's actually like
I don't know what that is.
It's meant to be for 30 days. So I will give it credit because I think there's a lot of diets or nutrition plans that like aren't sustainable and they're very straightforward with their like this is meant to kind of be 30 days to reset. And so there's basically a list of what you're allowed to eat.
Sure.
And they give you some guidelines of like portion sizes because it's split up between like, you know, proteins, carbs, fit, like stuff like that. But it's a pretty strict list. And so the idea is kind of to like reset to eat just like really good quality foods that have no added sugar and no like not super processed. And it's meant to be for 30 days. Like you're not meant to stay on it forever.
Yeah.
And the amount of people I've seen do it and then go right back to what they were doing. And like, even the people from Whole30 would tell you like, you need a transition plan out of it.
Yeah.
Like do it and then slowly start to add stuff in.
Sure.
And if you add in a few things at a time, you're going to see how those things affect you
100%.
versus adding everything else back in and just going right back to it.
Yeah.
So, you know, those small changes are going to be much more sustainable. And, you know, it's like,
yeah, it's kind of ridiculous to like, hey, I'm just going to lose all this weight, change my
it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah. It's supposed
you need to make a lifestyle change
or else you're just going to go back to like that old you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I don't blame people if they're like, hey, I have a vacation in a month, so I'm going to be like super strict. Like if you go into it knowing like, I'm not doing this to be sustainable. I'm doing it like I've worked with some like actors and models who are like, I have to be shirtless on camera in a month. Okay, we're throwing out sustainability.
Sure.
We're throwing out balance. Yeah. We're throwing out your mental health a little bit.
We have to get your goal.
Not completely, but we're kind of putting your mental health to the side for a little bit, knowing that we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We're going to get you through that shoot, and then we're going to go back to like a healthy, sustainable life plan.
Yeah.
So like if you're saying like, listen, I've got my wedding or I've got a beach vacation in a month, you know, do whatever, make yourself up. But like, know that when you come back, you need to find something sustainable
for the long term.
Yeah, something for the long term.
So you got this job at, as an assistant
fitness director
at this gym in Kansas City still,
and then kind of shifted to group fitness director.
To group fitness director.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also trainer.
But also trainer.
Like
So-
all of those were kind of part-time things
Okay.
that you would do. You would like be training mostly and then take on some extra responsibilities.
Sweet. So this is like your full-time gig now. You're out of cooking.
Full-time gig, out of cooking.
Cooking is done. You're back
Happily
into fitness.
done with it.
Happily done with it.
Yes.
And I guess like how do you go from there to owning your own gym in Los Angeles, California?
That is a long story. How long is this podcast?
As long as you want to
Try to make it short. So I was working at the gym in Kansas City when the cast of Queer Eye happened to come in.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they filmed in
Queer
Kansas
Eye?
City. So makeover show on Netflix.
Makeover.
If you ever watch the old Queer Eye for the Straight Guy,
Okay.
where they make someone over, it's the new version of that. And they film in different cities where they'll go, and each week they pick someone, they give them a makeover, and there's a food expert and a style expert and a grooming expert and an interior designer and then like a lifestyle coach.
So it's the whole thing.
So it's the whole thing.
Okay.
To give someone like a full life makeover. And they happen to come to Kansas City to film 2 seasons.
Sweet.
So they're there for about 6 months. And so they happen to walk in the gym. I introduce myself, start training them, train some of them for the whole time they were there, got to know them really well. And they left Kansas City, and I was like, cool, I'll like go visit them and we'll keep in touch and whatever. They're off winning Emmys and like being super famous. And I'm, just this trainer in Kansas City.
For the Queer Eye thing, it's not, they pick people who are already famous?
No, the 5 hosts of the show.
Okay.
But they pick just regular people. and
Okay,
give
so
them a
you worked out with
makeover.
the hosts of the
So
show.
I worked out with the hosts.
Okay.
Yes, the hosts, the like 5 experts.
Okay.
I trained them while because they were living in an apartment like right next to the gym. They all live in like either New York or LA or kind of all over.
Okay.
When they're not filming, and got to know them really well and became good friends and would hang out. And they left to go back to LA or New York, and one of them reached out. They were getting ready to go to Japan to film like a mini season there.
Okay. Of the same show?
Of the same show, but it was going to be just like 4 episodes a month there. And they were like, do you want to come with us and be our trainer? Like, we don't want to have to find someone there. There was going to be a gym in their apartment building, and they were like, do you want to come with us? Like, all expenses paid trip to Japan for a month, train for a few hours a day and then explore Tokyo. So I was like, absolutely.
For how long?
A month.
Okay.
So went there, and while I was getting ready to go, one of them, Bobby, the interior designer on the show, he texted me one day and he was like, I've been eating like shit and I haven't worked out since the last time I saw you. This was like a couple weeks after they left. And he was also getting ready to launch a lifestyle website.
Okay. What's lifestyle?
It's like just a blog, like, because he's a designer,
Okay.
but they also wanted to do like food and fitness content and a little bit of everything. And so he asked me to move to LA and work for him. So I was his
Like be his personal trainer.
personal trainer, personal chef, because he knew I was a chef before, and then also do a bunch of content for the website, do like recipes and some fitness stuff, wellness stuff. And so
This is after Japan.
this was before Japan.
Okay.
I already knew I was going,
Okay.
but he texted me and was like, hey, after Japan, do you want to move to LA and work for me full time? And so I said yes. And
Did you have any
was that.
doubts of it? Or were
100%. I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was too good an opportunity to pass up.
Sure.
I mean, obviously I had gone abroad before, so I wasn't afraid to like get up and move and try something out.
Yeah.
And so on the way, we went to Japan. On the way back, I stopped in LA, looked at apartments, and then went back to Kansas City and packed my whole life up and moved out to LA.
What?
And
That's
worked for
crazy.
him for a long time. And when they would go film, I would travel with the show. I would be in a random city for 3 months. We
Okay.
did Philly, we did Austin, did New Orleans, which hasn't come out yet. And
So was it like a daily thing? Like you would be at his house cooking for
I was
him?
at his house usually twice a day. So I would go in the morning, I would prep some breakfast and lunch, we'd work out, and then I'd go back in the evening, cook dinner.
Every day?
Every day.
Monday through Sunday?
So not Monday through Sunday.
Okay.
yes, Monday through Sunday, but he traveled a lot. And if he was like on a talk show or filming, so it wasn't like some days I would just be there in the morning, not go back. Some days he would have stuff all day, so I'd go in the evening. Some days he would be so busy I wouldn't go over there at all, or he'd be out of town for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Was it on call though?
I had access to a schedule.
Okay.
Usually we would know at least like a few days in advance. So and obviously like if I planned a trip away for a weekend, like it was fine.
Sure.
I would prep some stuff, leave it in the fridge. He'd be happy to have a couple of days off working out, me not telling him what to do. So it wasn't like,
and this is your only
7 days a week, no days off for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was like random days off. Like, you know, 1 week he might be gone like Wednesday, Thursday, and then the next week he might be gone for the weekend. And so it wasn't like I didn't have days off. It just wasn't like a consistent schedule. Because he was all over the place.
Yeah, and so at this time, this is your only personal training client.
So that's it.
Yeah, full time.
When they would go away filming, sometimes the other guys would train with me.
Yeah.
But this was it. So I had some like online clients and did some like online programs, but because his schedule was so sporadic and sometimes could change like night before or morning of, I didn't want to take on any other clients because I didn't want to have to like reschedule all the time.
Sure.
So part of what he was paying me for was to be available and be flexible. Yeah. So if I had taken on other clients, I couldn't have done that.
Sure. Was it like worth it? Like, I guess like, because there's a lot of people out there who want to be like personal chefs, who want to be like personal, like
for him, it was definitely worth it because he got a trainer, a chef, and like content creator all in one. I'm talking
about from you.
For me, absolutely worth it. Not something you can do for the rest of your life because you're dependent on someone else's schedule, which is what I knew going into it. And I've talked to some other personal chefs and people, and sometimes the people they work for are a little bit more demanding. Sure. He was definitely not like hard to work for at all. Not the pickiest eater. I mean, there was like a few things I knew he didn't like, but it wasn't like, okay, I want you to cook this today. Like I would kind of cook whatever.
Oh, okay.
I mean, especially the first 6 months was a lot of like trial and error back and forth. Once I learned what he liked, it was pretty easy to just kind of like make whatever. And sometimes he would be like, hey, like next week I'm really craving whatever. Like, can you make it? But it wasn't ever like, you know, last minute. No, I don't want that. I want this. Like it was pretty easy as a personal chef. But you're just dependent on someone else's schedule. And so it was a great opportunity. It obviously brought me to LA, which I'm very happy about because I love it here. Yeah. And learned a lot, grew a lot, got to meet some amazing people. Him and I are still very close. Yeah. I mean, he officiated my wedding, so obviously like super close, but
that's awesome. How do you get out of something like that? Because for me, and probably for a lot of trainers out there, it's hard leaving clients.
I get that. It was hard leaving Kansas City because I had a lot of clients that I really cared about.
And they're like, they become friends. They become family. They become like, you see them more than your family.
Right. You know? I mean, you really care about them. Any good trainer does, at least. And so there's a couple that were easy to leave. But for the most part, they were hard to leave. I mean, this situation, it worked out well because I'd started thinking about and talking about opening my own gym. I mean, I would travel with him when they would film, so I'd be gone for 3 months at a time, which I was not excited to keep doing. Sure. It sounds cool at first, but you know, I can't really settle down doing that. Yeah. And we were kind of getting ready to leave again. And so it worked out to where we kind of knew after that I'd be phasing out. And he was in a position where he was traveling way more and out of town a lot. And so he was paying me to
do nothing
a lot of days because he'd be gone for a week at a time. Yeah. Like after we got back from that last season, like he went to Vietnam for like a month because that's where his husband's from. And so it was like, does he really want to pay me salary for this month while he's going to be gone?
Sure.
Which, I mean, every other time, like he'd be gone, I was obviously his thing, so I'd still get paid. But like, he was traveling more, and I mean, luckily his husband loves to cook and is very good at it, so he's kind of taken over that side, and his mother-in-law is doing a lot of cooking for them. So it kind of worked out to where I think it was the right time in both of our lives for me to move on.
To transition.
Yeah. So like, not that it's ever easy.
Sure.
There'll never be like a perfect time for it, which I think, you know, if I had tried to wait for the perfect time, it never would have come.
Yeah. Do you have any advice to like us trainers out there who are like are really trying to like get out of the space that they're in and they have to leave some clients, but they just don't know how to?
If you care about your clients and what's best for them, and you are not fully invested in those clients for whatever reason, like not because of them, but you have other things you want to do and your mind is elsewhere and your energy is elsewhere, the best thing you can do for your clients is to set them up for success with someone else. So don't just leave them. Like every single client I had, I sat down and we talked about what they needed, and I set them up with other trainers, and the other trainers knew they might try a couple. And I checked in. I was trying to be very like hands-on and present in that transition. But if your mind and your energy is elsewhere, the best thing you can do for your clients is to help set them up for success in another way. So,
yeah, I love that.
Like I think most trainers probably know you get to a point with a lot of your clients where they need you more for the mental side than the actual like training.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people need accountability. A lot of trainers become people's therapist. There's the personal side of personal training, and then there's the training side. You know, I think that a good trainer can make people look forward to coming to the gym when they might not, and can make people feel safe and comfortable in a space that can be very intimidating. But also your job as a trainer should be, or in many cases is going to be, to set someone up to not need you anymore.
Yeah.
At least in the training side. And some people want to train forever because they want to come into the gym and not have to think about their workout. And that's great. That's part of why, you know, we do small group training in classes, because people don't have to think. They're all following the same workout. But
Shouts out Helix Gym.
Yeah. Shout out Helix Gym. But I think like, yeah, if you're not fully invested in a client, then the best thing for them is someone else.
That's awesome.
And so just be honest with them. And I think most clients, if you're moving on to something that you're passionate about and that you're clearly excited for, they're going to be happy for you. They're going to be excited for you. You know, a couple, they'll still be disappointed because they'll miss you, but they'll be happy for you.
Yeah. I guess on the other side of that coin, for personal trainers out there trying to get clients in an area, especially like LA, that's so saturated with like personal trainers, where would you start to like, hey, I'm fit, I got my personal training certification, but I have 0 clients?
There's a lot of ways. I mean, one thing as a trainer is you'll kind of find your niche, but it'll almost find you. So you need to be open. Like what you think your niche is going to be might not be what it ends up being. You'll kind of attract certain clients.
Sure.
But know that it's not about you. It's about the client.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get into training because they're super fit and they like to work out, and then they try to program what they would do for themselves for every client, and that's not going to work. It's about the client. And like, I just try to like be there for people. My mentality as a trainer, there were trainers who were really good at selling and really good at getting new clients and not great at keeping clients. And so my mentality was like, if I can get a client and make it about them and keep them happy, your best marketing is your clients. And so if you can get one and do a really good job, they're going to tell all their friends about you. Other people are going to see you training them and be like, they look like they're having a great time. That person is already getting results.
Yeah.
I've seen them working with that trainer for 2 weeks now, and they're already looking better.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your best selling point. So, you know, if you
Get your
can
first one, guys.
get your first one, get your friends,
Yeah.
like just get that hands-on experience. But like, you know, if you can find the right gym and find the right setting, and just, it's going to be a slow build.
Sure.
Just know that.
Anything good takes time.
Anything good takes time.
So basically, you're technically a celebrity personal trainer and chef at this time, right? And then
Yeah, I guess. That always sounds weird. It's, yeah.
I mean, objectively, that's what
Objectively,
it was.
yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
And I guess, was this like right before your current situation right now of starting your own gym?
So I did that for 3.5, almost 4 years.
Okay.
Was doing that. And then, like early last year, started seriously kind of planning to open a gym.
So so this is recent. So you just stopped recently.
So yeah, we got back from that last season away in, I think, the first weekend of September
Of 2022?
of 2022.
Wow.
So I flew back to LA to sign the lease on the space where our gym is, because I was kind of looking before I left, came back for a weekend, looked at the space, negotiated, like came back to sign the lease. And then our lease started the week I came back, and started like planning renovations and doing all that.
And that's when you like stopped like...
And that's when I stopped.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's relatively new for you.
So it is relatively new. Yeah.
Wow. How is it?
It's been great. I mean, it's been a lot of work.
Sure.
It's been definitely a change, but it's super rewarding.
What inspired you to start a gym? I guess, again, in a space where there's a gym there's multiple gyms in every block. Of
There
every
is.
city
LA
of
is
LA.
definitely saturated with the gym. Part of the reason we opened where we did in Sherman Oaks up in the valley, shout out Helix Gym,
Shout out to the gym.
is for as many gyms as LA has, that area is a little bit lacking. And we just kind of like, a lot of it came from just talking about what was lacking in the gyms that are here. And I saw a gap that we could fill. And so I think like anyone who maybe is thinking about opening a gym or whatever the business is, don't do it because like you think it would be cool to be a gym owner or be cool to like own a clothing or whatever the business is. Like if there's a gap that you can fill, focus on that.
It's like, how can you help
Yeah.
these people?
How can we help people
or
and
improve
right.
the world?
And so, yeah, we saw
or community.
a gap that we could fill in the community and like where we could really help people. And so that was
The inspiration.
the inspiration. Like I had always been open to the idea of opening a gym, but knew it was like, it needs to be the right thing. And so when we talked about like, well, we like this gym, but it's missing this, and we like that gym, but it's missing that, and there's really nothing in between these, and that's kind of how we got there.
What made you decide to actually pull that trigger? Because there's so many people who have, I guess, like business ideas, right?
Yeah.
Or ideas in general, and they just have that idea in their brain or on their piece of paper or on their whiteboard for like many years,
Yeah.
and they never check it off.
Yeah. I mean, this had been kind of on the back burner for a while.
Yeah.
A big part of it was just knowing it was ready to move on from my current situation. And kind of not so much a lack of better options, because I think I could have had a lot of options that would have made me happy. But nothing that I was ready to like commit to long term like this. And I guess I've always just been someone who wants to like, I know it kind of sounds a little cheesy to be like, I want to be my own boss and like,
That's not cheesy at all.
you know, but I've worked in plenty of situations where I was kind of like fulfilling someone else's vision, and I just didn't love the idea of that. I was like, I don't like to do things half-assed, and I was just like, I would much rather put it all on the line for myself and try to build something for me.
Yeah. But also like help people in the process.
But also help people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of what encouraged me to pull the trigger. Just the right timing, the right situation, and kind of finally saying just like, all right, let's go for it. Yeah. Like just putting it out there and telling people.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I find interesting is like there's so many people who, my point is like you will do the thing that you want to do if you say it to close friends and family. Right? Because you're like, at least for me, for the longest time I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna do this podcast. It's gonna be really dope. And for 2 years I said that, and then a really close friend of mine was like, yo, where's this podcast that you keep talking about happening?
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh shit, fuck, I gotta
put
do
it
this.
out there. Yeah, I mean, like I love competing in like powerlifting and Olympic lifting, but during the pandemic, when gyms were closed, I started like running and biking more, and I was like, I've always wanted to do a triathlon, but I've never like committed to it. And so one day I was just like sitting at home. We had an exercise bike, which came in clutch when everything shut down, but
like a regular bike, like exercise bike. Yeah, just like not like a road bike.
Biker.
Okay, concept type 2 biker.
Not a road bike, just like literally inside watching TV, sitting on a bike. And I pull up my Instagram story and I was just like, I'm going to do a triathlon by the end of the year.
You wrote it down, or you just decided?
No, I just was like, I posted on my Instagram story and I was just like, and I saying it now and you all know. And so now I have to do it. And then I looked up like triathlons in LA and I found one, and I like luckily knew some people who had worked with the coach. And so I hired her. And so I was just like, well, and then I like, the next week bought a road bike off of Facebook Marketplace for super cheap. And I was just like, all right, I've now put it out there and I've now spent money on this and I've ordered a bunch of stuff that I probably don't need, but we're doing it. Like I got to do it now. Yeah. And so, yeah, sometimes just like putting it out there and then you're like, well, shit, now I got to do it.
Yeah. And if you don't do it, you kind of feel bad because you kind of like promised the world that you would.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because if I post on my Instagram story that I'm doing it, 6 months later, someone's going to be like, hey, when's your triathlon?
Yeah, like, at least one person will, right?
At least one person will. At least my wife will. She'll definitely call me out for it. But
like, didn't you say
she'll be like, you just bought new running shoes and a bike and this and that and like triathlon clothes. Like, you better do it. Yeah. And so, yeah, just did it.
I guess so. You pulled the trigger on the triathlon as well as the gym.
Yes.
Right.
Let's hope the gym is more successful than my triathlon career,
but I guess, where do you start for like planning a gym? Like you have to figure out how to get equipment, figure out like how to run a business, a website, employees, coaches, all this. And like, did you like, were you ready for like all this?
No, not at all. I mean, luckily I had studied business, so I kind of had like, I was interested in the business side of starting a business too. You know, so at least that like kind of was engaging and exciting for me, and not like a daunting task, although it was a lot of work. The first thing we focused on was just, what's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What's the vibe? Like, what's the community going to be like? And then we started kind of narrowing it down from there, and thinking about like what area we were going to go in, and we looked at a bunch of different ones. LA, you also have to worry about like permits and
all
parking and a bunch of stuff like that. But kind of like,
you guys have some parking.
We do. That was one of the big reasons we found the spot we wanted, that we got. Yeah, that was one of the big deciding factors in the location we got. And I drew up like a couple different design plans based on like slightly different layouts and how we could utilize the space. And I actually wrote out like a sample week of programming. So I was like, what equipment are we going to be using? What's this going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What's the class size going to be? And then we kind of started just going from there, and we started looking at a lot of locations and a lot that didn't work.
So you kind of just dove head first. And
really did.
Figured it out.
Really did. Like, yeah. So just kind of like, it came together faster than I think we expected.
That's awesome though.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But also it was just like, oh shit, we're doing this now.
Yeah.
Like found a location, found a contractor, and it was just like,
boom, 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 boom,
boom, boom, boom, hit the ground running.
What's I guess why Helix? Why is it called Helix Gym?
So we went through a lot of name ideas. If you're ever starting a business,
did we get to hear some bad ones?
Come up with, it's not so much bad ones. If you're ever starting a business of any type, make a big list of names and start Googling them to see if they're taken.
Yes.
Because I guarantee 90% of them are.
Yes.
There's a Helix Gym in Australia, so we're like, okay, we're good there. Okay. Like, they're not really our competition. I don't think anyone's deciding between those two.
Yeah. And the trademarks aren't really
it wasn't. And Helix is like a word that's been used enough. There's other businesses called Helix, not really in the fitness space, so we weren't as worried about that.
Did you trademark it and everything?
Yeah, we just didn't want to like be one of many Helix gyms in the US. So a lot were just like eliminated just because they were taken, or something was like a little too close. Or we were like, I don't think people are going to know how to pronounce this right, or just kind of like put it out there, getting suggestions from friends. And then Helix was one we just liked. We kind of started putting together name ideas with possible taglines and what we wanted it to feel like. And so Helix being like DNA, we talked a lot about like kind of unlocking your potential and realizing, and we came up, actually Bobby Burke, I will give him credit, came up with the line, find out what you're made of, to go along with Helix. And that was kind of the deciding factor. Helix being like DNA, find out what you're made of. And so, one of the possible like things we had talked about as like a motto is like, unlocking your inner potential. And so Helix kind of went along with that idea of like, really just being your best self. And so, but the find out what you're made of is what we've got on like a neon sign in the gym and what we've kind of branded with.
Yeah,
so
I love that because
it's what I yell at people at the end of a workout when they want to quit. Find out what you're made of.
What makes Helix Gym different than any other gym in Los Angeles or in the world?
One of our big things is we are small group training. We prioritize moving well and good coaching. So our class limit is 10 people. We don't want you to just be in a big packed class. We want you to actually be engaging with the coach and feeling like you're getting better every class. And so we keep the classes small enough.
Does that limit memberships for you though?
It does, but we're okay with that. We focus on quality of service first. And so, it definitely limited like when we were looking at spaces.
Sure.
We wanted to find something that would be in that like 8 to 10 person per
like
class range. Intimate, but still getting the benefit of like having a group. Because I think people work harder. It's more fun when you're in a group. We're at the point now where it's a lot of regulars that are getting to know each other and push each other.
That's awesome.
But still small enough that like you're getting actual coaching. Yeah. Like I can actually watch everyone when we're squatting. And so
not like that LSKD event.
Yeah, that was a fun event. That was great.
Shout out to LSKD.
Shout out to LSKD. I'm wearing a shirt right now.
Let's go.
Yeah, we did a fun event with a bunch of people. It was like 30 something people all working out.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But it was all coaches and trainers. So I was like, I don't need to watch their form. We're all just having a fun workout together.
Sure.
And so
it was tough.
It was a tough workout.
It was a tough workout. Especially
I
if we
will
had
let
3 people.
Everyone listening know. So I will let you know this. To any of you that go to a gym and the trainer's there and you kind of like sometimes maybe complain about the workout being hard or, you're struggling. I will let you know this. Trainers and coaches are the biggest babies when they are working out. No one complains more during a workout than a bunch of coaches.
Why are you calling me out right now, bro?
I'm not. I didn't say you. I did. I meant him. But nobody complains more during a workout than when you get a bunch of fitness professionals in a room, all being forced to do a workout that they didn't come up with themselves.
Sure.
So it was a lot of fun. But yes, if any of you ever feel bad for complaining about the workout, know that your coach complains more than you. So don't let them make you feel bad.
That's such a reality, because like I love doing my own programs and stuff, but when I take like other people's classes or someone else's program, I'm like, yo, this shit sucks.
Honestly, even when I do my own programming, because I test out all the workouts, but like, yeah, so that was a fun event, but we keep the classes small enough that everyone's like getting good coaching and getting pushed, but still in that like community atmosphere.
What's the importance of community to you? I had Jameson Bolt on a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
I didn't edit. It's not out yet. It'll be out in a few weeks, guys. But
by the time you're hearing this, it will be.
Yeah,
so.
By the time you hear this, it'll be out. And his whole like growth in all these businesses that he helped to grow was from community. Is from
100%.
And I guess
it's why I follow him everywhere he goes.
Sure.
Like if anyone wants to know why I work with the brands I do, I obviously have to like their product, but like it's the people behind the brands that motivate me to work with them. And he is probably the main one who like wherever he goes, I'm following.
Yeah. What does community mean to you?
That is a tough one. Means whatever Jameson said. I'll just go with his answer. What did he say? Let's go with that, because he probably had a better answer.
It was a good one. It kind of just encompassed like a story, but like to you.
To me, I mean, it's hard to put into like a sentence, but it's just about like, I mean, the tagline that he actually likes to say is "We all get further together," and it like that is really true. Like it's. I think that community is about a bunch of people coming together to create something that is greater than the sum of the parts. And so, you know, I think community is also about like unconditional support. And that's one thing we want to kind of like integrate into the gym is it doesn't matter what someone's fitness level or experience level. It doesn't matter what the weight they're lifting is or how much they're modifying the workout. Like we are all here to support each other no matter what. And if someone's having a bad day, if someone's having like struggling that week, if they're just not feeling the workout, like we're here to support them because we're all going to need that someday.
100%.
Like we're all not going to be at our best every day.
Yeah.
And so that's what that community really means to me, and that's what we're trying to build.
How do you deal with people who like aren't like feeling that community vibe? Because you'll have like someone in a class that, or you've taken a workout class where someone's like not in it, like they don't want to be part of it. I mean, that like vibe.
There's nothing wrong with not being in it. I would kind of put people into two categories. Like most of the time, they're just kind of like a little bit isolated, maybe doing their own thing. Maybe they pick the spot in the corner. They're not really as talkative. And there's nothing wrong with that. Then there's the people who are like actively having a negative impact. That's the kind of person that you have to deal with. But that is honestly way more rare.
I guess for that rare case, what do you do? Usually
the first time, nothing, because most of the time those people will like weed themselves out. Like if that person comes in, it would take a lot for me to say something. Usually there's enough positivity to balance it out. But that person's probably not coming back. You know, I might kind of turn up the positivity. I don't like to be the one to call people out as much. And at least not for stuff like that. If your form's bad, I'll call you out. But if you're just slacking, I'll call you out. But like, you know, most of the time those people weed themselves out. The people who are kind of isolated, the gym's an intimidating place. There are some people who just kind of stay kind of doing their own thing and they come in and that's totally fine. Like, you know, you don't have to make friends with everyone if you're just not having a negative impact. But most of the time those people grow and become more involved in the community. And it's like, they might be intimidated. They might be shy. They might be nervous. And so encouraging them to come out of their shell, but letting them do it at their own pace.
And feel welcome.
Yeah. Make them feel welcome, make them feel good, smile at them, help them out, give them some encouraging words, but also don't like, no one wants to be forced to be part of a community.
Sure.
And so usually
They want to decide on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you let them kind of come out of the shell on their own and meet them where they're at, then usually they come along.
That's what's up.
So, and then the really negative people just kind of don't come back. And so it's okay.
It's like they feel like they're not part of it, therefore they won't come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? I guess, what was I going to talk about? The community aspect, for the training parts, like what's the difference between Helix and everything else? Like for the actual training.
For the actual training, we kind of found this niche between where most group classes are at. There's a lot of great like HIIT classes, high intensity classes, and then there's like CrossFit, which I've done before. I love it. Like I said, I still compete in weightlifting. It is not the most approachable.
Super intimidating.
Super intimidating. A lot of stuff that's fun and impressive, like a lot of the high skill stuff, like doing handstand walks and muscle ups are cool and fun if you can do them, but they're not necessary to be healthy and fit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even necessary to be like super athletic.
Yeah.
They're only necessary to be good at CrossFit.
They're skills.
They're skills
that
outside of CrossFit are outside of CrossFit and impressing people at the beach, like, are not super essential. Yeah. And so we wanted to create something that still uses a lot of those principles of training for performance, of strength and conditioning, but in a more approachable and adaptable way. So we don't do as much of the high skill stuff, but you are still using a barbell, you're still squatting, you're still deadlifting, but spending a lot more time kind of working on technique and focusing on moving well and doing something that's very adaptable to everyone. I mean, we have people in their 20s who were athletes in college, and then we have people in their 60s who have had knee replacements and hip replacements. And
some people in their 60s right now?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, people who have lost a bunch of weight, people who are like, you know, every age. And so we want everyone's doing the same workout, like the workout that's on the board, but with different modifications, with their own weights.
And it's easier to modify when you have 10 people.
It is.
And you could really see like...
And when you get to know those people, when you don't have so many members that you're like, wait, who are you again? Like, you know, I remember like where everyone's at and what their issues are and what their mobility is like, and, you know, can give the modifications before they even have to ask.
Yeah. I mean, I've coached at plenty of places that have like endless amount of members, and you're just like, I don't really know these people.
I don't know these people. You know, in a class of 30, you can't be watching everyone at the same time.
It's literally impossible.
It is. Yeah. It's impossible, you know, especially if you're going like between a bunch of stations. It's like by the time you even see them, they're moving on to something else and they're done with the thing. So like you can say like, hey, next week when you do this, make sure you're like moving your knees in or whatever, but like they're going to forget.
100%.
And so just creating something more approachable and adaptable, but that still makes people feel like they're training like an athlete. You know? Yeah,
I mean, I witnessed it myself, dude. Like when I first took, I guess, the first class, squat day,
yeah, with
me and Caitlin, I was like, yo, this is some of the best training that outside of personal training, is probably the best group class I've ever taken.
Appreciate that.
You know,
I mean, yeah, you're getting that same kind of workout. It's semi-private, like I said, like you're still engaging with the coach. You're getting that access without having to pay for personal training.
Yeah. I guess outside, like expanding on that. So there's a lot of people out there who LA's really expensive for working out.
Yes, it is.
Like the prices for my hometown, your hometown are not even close to what
completely different
LA pricing is, right? And so people are moving out here. They want to be fit. There's people out here who want to be fit, and they can't necessarily spend $200, $300, $400 a month on, I guess, like group classes or personal training and all this stuff. And for those people, what is your advice of like, how do I start? How do I become fit? How do I change my lifestyle in a way that I don't know anything about fitness, but like I want to?
I mean, group classes are definitely more affordable compared to personal training. And I'll be honest, like the workouts that I'm programming for our classes aren't much different from what I would program for someone who's doing personal training.
Sure.
Especially once I give you your modification.
Yeah.
But find a group, like find people to work out with. As much thought and effort and planning as I put into the programming, like programming is not as important as consistency. It's not as important as effort. And so like worry less about doing the perfect program and worry more about just like creating that lifestyle change, just showing up to the gym, being consistent, starting to move better and feel better and making it a lifestyle change. And then you can start to like tweak your programming to be a little bit more efficient and better. But like, don't worry about effort. Like pick if you're someone who just is going to like Planet Fitness, which is the most affordable option.
Yeah, it's like $10.
Clearly. I mean, there's
$15.
And like, you know, I have my issues with Planet Fitness, but like there's tons of equipment, super accessible, especially if you live somewhere not LA. Yeah.
There's not a lot of barbells
everywhere. Not a lot of barbells. But it's a great place to start. And it's super accessible. It's $10 a month and they're everywhere. Really? Just pick a program, find one online, pick a program and just worry about effort and consistency before you worry about like finding the perfect program. Because then you'll start to find what you like, what you don't like, what keeps you interested. Like my goal, more than just the gym, but like is to motivate people to just like live a healthier life, to move. And so as much as I believe in our training and our programming and it's what I love to do, and like luckily it's what our members have fallen in love with,
100%.
Like our programming is not the only way to do things. Any trainer, any health coach who tells you this is the right way, this is the only way to get fit or get healthy, like they're lying to you. You know, just moving and being active is more important than anything. Yeah. Like if you want to compete in the weightlifting, you got to come lift a barbell, but like you don't need a barbell to get stronger and get fitter, especially if you're going from nothing, like never working out or not working out in years, to trying to get fit again. Find something you just enjoy doing, find people you enjoy doing it with, and focus on that first.
Consistency and effort.
Yeah. So like, you know, if playing tennis 3 times a week is what's fun for you and motivating, like that's great cardio that keeps you moving. Do that. Like you don't have to go into a gym.
You know what's big right now, dude? Pickleball.
Pickleball? Yeah.
Pickleball's huge. My parents
play pickleball.
My parents play pickleball 5 days a week.
My mother-in-law is like a badass at pickleball, and she plays tennis a lot. She goes on these long walks, and she's super healthy at 66.
That's crazy.
And she also does a lot of like kettlebell stuff, and lifts some weights. But like, she's not spending every day in the gym, but she's doing something active almost every day. She will go on like a long bike ride one day and then play tennis the next. So, you know, and a big part of it has been her finding people to go on a bike ride with. And then she's got her group that she plays tennis with.
And then she has Helix Gym to go work.
And then she has Helix Gym when she comes and visits LA, and we put her to work. But yeah, just like find what you enjoy and find people you enjoy doing it with.
And that's what's up. A couple things. What is your favorite movement of, I guess, working out? And 2, what is, if you had to choose one movement that is most beneficial for the entire body, that it's the only thing that you can do, what would that be?
Ooh. My favorite used to be deadlifts. Now it's probably cleans. Okay. It's something that uses so much of your body. The feeling of accomplishment. It's a great mix of strength and technicality. Like deadlifts are more strength, and obviously like there's a lot of form involved. Yeah. But cleans, it's like you got to be strong, but you also have to have great form. Yeah. Like it's a great balance of skill and strength and fitness
and mobility.
And so it's like, if you look at just like, other than maybe snatches, but I prefer doing cleans because I'm not as good at snatches, so maybe that's it. But like snatches are impressive, but like
snatches is even more mobility.
Snatches is even more mobility, but like I'm impressed when I see someone clean a bunch of weight with great form. Yeah. Like it's really impressive. So cleans, most beneficial would probably be squats. Deadlifts are up there too, but in a risk to reward ratio, I would say probably squats. Like, it's one of the most functional movements you can do. It's working your lower body strength. It's working your mobility. You're loading your joints, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, but I don't want to like hurt my joint. Well, they need to get stronger. So you need to load them. Like, you know, doing
Thanks, Zach isn't soft at all, guys.
Weightlifting is great for like preventing osteoporosis and joint health. Like, obviously you want to do it with good form and not like max out every week. But if you're doing like squats, whether it's back squats, goblet squats, front squats, there's a ton of core stability involved, ton of like, and when I say core, I'm not just talking about like those front abs that you do sit-ups with, but like your internal core, your spinal erectors, like your back, lower back, like all of that stability. So probably squats as most beneficial. Like if someone could only do one thing, and you can mix it up. You can do heavy, you can do tempo, you can do light, fast pace, you can do body weight, you can do jump squats. Like,
yeah, I agree. That's huge. Mine, when I was originally asked that question, was kettlebell swings, because
those are great too.
You're working your like grip strength, you're working like shoulders, you're working your hamstrings, glutes, everything like that as well.
The only reason I would choose squats over kettlebell swings is like that you can have. There's a lot more variety in terms of like load and tempo. You know.
Because the tempo for a kettlebell swing is pretty consistent throughout.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Like you can do them a little faster.
And you also could do like a goblet squat.
But you could do like pause squats, slow tempo squats. You could do some really fast squats. You could do heavier squats. Yeah. So I think there's just a little bit more.
There's a lot of variation with
that.
And if you do like a front loaded squat, you're still working like your biceps.
Oh, 100%.
Like that.
Yeah. So I mean, goblet squat, you're like definitely straining your biceps. If you've got a kettlebell, or, you know,
you might have convinced me.
So yeah, I'm gonna say squats. I'm gonna say squats.
What are you most excited for in your life right now?
I mean, the easy answer, just true, is just like watching the gym grow, and just building that community.
Yeah.
So that's been really exciting. Continues to be exciting. So yeah.
How did you get into, I guess, all these movements? Like, because you did powerlifting, and then basically bodybuilding, but then like the CrossFit
bodybuilding was very short-lived. So, yeah.
But like the early stages of Zach.
I mean, like, other people.
Yeah.
Like, started powerlifting through some people I knew, working out with them. Some of the more experienced lifters kind of took me under their wing when I was younger and trained me and pushed me and kept me accountable. And then the gym that I was working at, where I was kind of like the powerlifting guy. So especially if someone wanted to get stronger, would come to me. But like some of the other trainers there were getting more into CrossFit. Our manager at the time was doing a CrossFit program. So it's just started working out with them. And getting more into that. And like I said earlier about like being a beginner at something and like, I don't like sucking at things. And so I get determined to get better at it.
Sure.
And so I went from being the guy who could squat and deadlift and bench the most out of all the trainers there to being the worst at cleans and snatches and wall balls and CrossFit workouts.
I gotta get better at this.
I was like, I gotta get better at this. And so like just did that with them and then continued to get better and better. And like through CrossFit found Olympic lifting. And as much as I love powerlifting, it also just really beats up your body.
Yeah.
It's not, for me personally, the most sustainable.
Why do you compete still? Or why, knowing that there's no reward for you?
Well, Olympic lifting, I feel is a little more sustainable for me. I just like to compete. I like to have something to train for. It's why I signed up for a triathlon. It's why I compete in weightlifting. Like it's not, the reward is just doing it. The reward is the process and getting better. It definitely keeps me more accountable.
Sure.
But I just like having something to train for. I like having that goal and that kind of like, instead of just having like kind of an open goal of like, I want to get better at these, like having that date. And so, yeah, I just like competing.
Do you have anything right now that you're trying to get better at, like any workout wise?
Not specifically. Right now, my training is mostly me testing the Helix workouts ahead of time. So like I test out the program. I will probably, hopefully, I guess I'll put this out there now. Like I said, you should do, probably be competing again in late July
of this year.
That's in weightlifting. Close. Pretty close. So I'm starting to work in a little bit more Olympic lifting, but not like a full Olympic lifting program.
Sure.
Probably like April, I'll start actually like training and doing more Olympic lifting. And then May, I'll probably start like an actual like program leading up to the meet. Okay. But like my goal is basically to just do better than I did the last one. I'm not like, thing about these is you don't really know who else is coming. Yeah. You don't know who you're competing against.
That's a huge factor.
So I'm just like, if I do better than I did the last one, I'm happy.
It's a win.
Like, yeah, I'm not trying to like qualify for nationals or anything like that. Yeah. I'm just trying to like have fun and do better and hopefully win a little medal.
Heck yeah.
That I get to display.
That means something.
Yeah, it means something. But it's just fun for me. I like training for it. And so yeah, I will hopefully I say hopefully because obviously like not only could things change, but like signups aren't even live yet. So I haven't officially registered. Yeah. And they won't be for a little bit of time. But like if everything goes as planned, I will be competing again late July.
Circling back around, there's a lot of people who I guess were like in your younger days, they don't know what they want to do, or at least a lot of people, in my opinion, don't know what they want to do. Like in college, after college, or whatever. Like you didn't know that you wanted to be like a huge personal trainer in Los Angeles and just start your own gym and all.
Even when I became a trainer, like LA and training celebrities was not
in your
You don't become a trainer in Kansas expecting to train some like celebrities. So
100%. And I guess like what advice do you have for people who just like they don't know what to do and they don't know like what route they want, like career or job, and they're not really passionate about anything? Like what would you say to them?
Just get experience. Like I obviously have changed careers a couple times. I've tried different things. I don't regret any of them. I have learned skills and knowledge in everything I've tried that has applied somewhere down the line, even if when I left that, I thought I would never need that again. And so just get experience. And
yeah, who knew you would be a personal chef and personal trainer?
Right.
Like that.
Like I thought I had kind of left the food world, and I was just like, cool, I've got like some party tricks and I can make my friends a good dinner, but like, you know, and then, but also like what I know about food comes in handy when I'm trying to like help people with their nutrition. Yeah. Like even if I'm not cooking, if I'm trying to help someone like find a sustainable diet and I can start suggesting dishes that they can eat, that sets me apart from other trainers.
100%. Like
another trainer can't tell them like, hey, have you ever tried mixing this with that? Because it tastes amazing and it's health. Like other trainers are just like, okay, eat some like chicken and rice and broccoli and like put a little sauce on it. And I'm like, you know,
it doesn't need to be that boring.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be boring. So like just get experience doing whatever. Like start just like shadow people, get experience, talk to everyone. Just work any job, honestly. Like and don't be afraid to take a little time off. The way I didn't go straight to college, and then even between college and culinary school, I was just like working some random jobs, but like exploring things. Like it's better to try something and it not work out than just not try anything. Yeah. So
that's what's up. What do you like most about LA? Or what do you like about LA?
I mean, I definitely don't miss winter.
Sure. It's summer all around.
Yeah, like
the day cold right now.
The day I got the text asking me to move to LA, it was like snowing and icy in Kansas City. Yeah. And I had just finished like scraping the ice off my car. And so when I got a text asking me to move to LA, it definitely was not a hard sell. Sure. So I definitely don't miss winter. There's a couple things. I love like how eclectic LA can be in terms of just meeting people from every walk of life, every kind of place. I love that LA, like I heard someone once say, because I love New York, love to visit New York and have friends there, but like heard someone once say like the difference between New York, and I guess this would apply to most cities, and LA is like, there you ask people what they do for a living, here you ask people what they're working on. Like everyone in LA has some kind of like ambition or something they're trying to do and like some passion. And I love that. Like everyone here just like is more unafraid to be themselves.
Yeah, it's weird. Like the one thing I do love that aspect of it, because like no one's ashamed. I mean, there's no stigma of like, hey, I'm gonna be a personal trainer and like record everything and show like the world who I am, versus if you do it in your hometown, you're like, what the fuck is this dude doing?
If in any other city, if you told people like, well, I'm a personal trainer and I bartend and I do bitters and I have a podcast, they'd be like, you have to pick one.
And
in LA, people are like, cool, you should also try this thing. And you're like, okay, I've got enough on my plate. But like in LA, people are just like encouraging and wanting to do everything. And like obviously there's plenty of superficiality in LA, but like for the most part, once you live here and you really get to know people, like everyone has so many like,
and there's good people out here,
and they're not afraid to try things and just like experience. And so, you know, I love that about LA.
Yeah.
I love that you don't have to kind of like fit in a box here.
I don't really think about it that way, because I would always, my whole aspect was it like, you could, what I just told you is like, you don't feel ashamed of like doing things that are uncommon in other places of the world. Over here, it's like everyone's doing the things that you're doing.
And in other places, people seem to not want to share something unless they've already become successful with it. And so like, you know, someone may start a podcast, use that as an example, and they almost like wouldn't want to tell people about it until it's like big and making money and like something to brag about. And here someone will be like, I started a podcast. We've only done 3 episodes and I'm losing money on it, but like, I love doing it. And people here are like, awesome. I know some people who would be great guests. You want me to hook it up? Like here, people just want everyone to like,
I feel like it's the biggest thing with movies out here too.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's filming movies.
Everyone's got a script. Everyone's writing something or working on something. And they're not unafraid to share it. So
that's what's up.
How
do you, I guess, like use that creativity and art in working out too? Because like I believe that we're artists in other people's bodies, right? So like, how do you like describe working out as like creative?
I mean, how you keep it engaging, finding ways, I guess, to relate it to cooking is like, how can because I still want to keep it the foundational movements. Like obviously there are certain movements that I think are important and work really well.
Your 5 key sauces.
You've got your sauces. And so it's like, you know, how can you take the same batch of ingredients and make it exciting and new and engaging and keep people wanting to come back? And so, you know, having fun with the structure of the workout and how you're going to challenge yourself and make it new and exciting without getting too out there. That's really fun for me. And then also just like the creativity and problem solving of like, personal training is almost a little easier in this way because you're making workout for one person, but how can I make a workout where all of these different people are all coming in and getting a good workout at the same time, even though they're at very different levels. And so there's like, you know, the science, there's the creativity, there's a lot of problem solving. And so it's like a fun mix.
Is that why you take out like cleans and snatches from like the basic movements like in your classes?
So we are planning on adding an Olympic lifting technique class. That's more just like, those are so technical that unless I have the time to really coach everyone,
I don't really want to do it. So like we've done some push jerks, but not split jerks because they're a little bit tougher. But I've said to people, like, if you have experience and you want to do split jerks, that's fine. But I kind of try to program the like more approachable version of it. So we're going to add that technique class where we can spend an hour just working on technique. But if we have an hour to work out and we're trying to do like a little strength portion and some conditioning, we don't have 30 minutes to spend working on your snatch.
Sure. It just takes a long time.
It just takes a long time. And I don't want anyone doing it unless they can do it well.
Yeah.
If
it's worth doing, it's worth doing.
You also just like don't need to be doing it. Like we do overhead stuff with kettlebells and dumbbells, and we'll do like, you know, overhead presses. So we're still working all those same muscles, but like you don't need to be able to do a snatch to be fit. It's fun. I like it. I compete in it, so I have to be able to do it. But like most people don't.
Yeah, but that creative aspect goes to like, hey, I'm gonna do this for me, and I'm gonna learn like that aspect, and I'm gonna program it for myself, and that's in my program.
Exactly. So you know, it's a fun mix of like science and creativity together.
Yeah, it's a good perspective.
So because you can make a workout that's like super creative, but not a very good workout. Like not one that you can actually progress with.
Yeah.
And so having to like be creative but still stick within the bounds of what works
is art. Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
So
where can everyone find you? Where can everyone find Helix Gym?
My Instagram is Zach Morgan, ZACH. The Instagram for the gym is at Helix Gyms with an S. Yes, we only have one right now, but we're manifesting more. So people are like, why did you tag? Like, why is your tag Helix Gyms instead of Helix Gym? Well, one, that's the website that was available. So helixgyms.com, Helix Gyms on Instagram and Twitter, but we don't really use Twitter
yet.
Not yet. And so, you know, we wanted to just claim it now and manifest having a couple more.
Heck yeah, dude.
So,
and are you're a lot of personal trainers listen to this podcast, and are you still looking for coaches at the gym?
We are looking for coaches. We're, you know, we've been putting out feelers. We're definitely being picky. You know, I'm willing to like definitely take the time and energy to kind of like train someone on the way we do things and kind of help mentor people. So if any newer trainers are out there, don't think like we only care about experience level. We want people that are going to be the right fit.
Sweet.
And I want people that are going to stick around for a long time. And like I said, hopefully open more. And so have people be able to grow within it. But yeah, I mean, I think the fitness industry is kind of weird that way. There's no like, you know, real central job posting place for the fitness. It's a lot of just like networking.
Yeah. I mean, big gyms do like LA Fitness,
Equinox, big gyms do
like all these
things.
things.
And that's usually where you get like brand new trainers. That's who they're looking for, is people who are willing to not to kind of talk shit about those like big gyms, but they're looking for people who they can like pay very little and train in their way of doing things.
Another funny story. I worked at the new Equinox in Studio City the other day, and all these trainers, not all of them, but some of them were, I think they were pretty new. But like there was this one movement,
which I was too. Like I worked at a big gym where I was the new trainer, getting paid like shit. Like everyone has to go through that.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But
I saw the most unique movement I've ever seen. And it was someone having their client do a bear crawl.
Okay. Love bear crawls.
Sweet, but like pulling a barbell in between their legs each time, right?
Interesting.
And I was like, And also this lady's like probably...
I've done I've had people do bear crawls with like a band around their waist pulling a sled behind them. But it's not altering your form. It's just adding load.
It's like you would pull this barbell and it's like moving all over the place. I was just like, what is that?
I've had people do bear crawls holding dumbbells in their hands too.
Sure.
So it's loaded. Like the idea of loading a bear crawl is good.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how I would do it. And I don't know if that's the way I would treat a barbell. Barbell is not going to love that. For anyone out there who's a nerd about fitness equipment like me, there's a little like bearing, sometimes bushing, sometimes bearing inside a barbell. And if you do something like that, it's going to not be good for that. It's going to lose its spin, which makes it not work as well. So I don't know if I would do that to one of our barbells. I want our barbells to last a long time.
He's saying
They're not cheap.
don't do that at Helix because it's going to ruin
Do not do that at Helix. Do it with a dumbbell if you want.
Yeah.
The dumbbells are fine. Dumbbells can take a beating. Barbells, an empty barbell you want to protect. Once it's got bumper plates on, you can drop it all you want.
I guess every trainer is like start somewhere, you know. I used to be really, really, really bad, you know, and then you get better, and it comes with reps.
I had people do some weird stuff. I'll admit, nothing comes to mind, but like I've probably had people do some stuff. I mean, yeah, fitness is a lot of trying stuff out, so you come up with some fun new things, but that's definitely one I've never heard before.
No, I was just shocked because I was like, "What is that?" Like,
a part of me wants to, when no one else is in the gym, try
it out.
Just try. I want to see how it feels. My question is, has that trainer tried it before, or did it just come to them in the moment? Like, was there a barbell on the ground? And
I like how you're open-minded.
Hey,
I like how you're open-minded about that, because a lot of people are so closed off to like, oh yeah, that doesn't do anything. But do you really know if you haven't tried it?
I mean, I think with fitness, what I'd say is like sometimes people do things, and I'm like, that's not bad. It just maybe isn't the best way to do it.
Sure.
Like there's no one right way to do things, but there's definitely some wrong ways to do things, and that might be one of them. So you will not be seeing that at Helix Gym. If you come to Helix Gym looking for that, don't bother.
If you guys want to do right things and good movement and workouts, go check out Helix Gym in Sherman
And if you want to drag a barbell around, go to Equinox.
Oh no!
Find this trainer. Go and be like, who's the trainer that makes you drag around a barbell doing bear crawls?
On that note, sir, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome, dude. And yeah, we'll do it. Once the gyms start growing and everything, we'll have you back on.
Yes.
And be great. Thanks, brother.
Let's do it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Bye.